So that was the first part on this side. Now I will turn it over, and as you can see, I'm starting to do my pad stitching along the collar, and this is to get the fold for the collar so that it sits up and sits really nicely on the jacket. Now this line here, this line here, that's the collar fold line. As you can see, there is the join between the interfacing and the collar band, again stitched, top stitched, so that keeps that all flat, and that actually will provide a good bit of rise for that collar band and keep it sitting nice and upright as well, so it gives it some structure. Now the separation between these different parts, the lines that I've drawn on, I put this collar together in paper using the pattern, and then I worked out where that would fall, where that line there would fall, and then I drew it on, and it turned out it was 3/8 of an inch away from that seam line. I've now done a row of pad stitching, so because that's a narrow strip, so again you want more shaping, and then the gap here is bigger than the gap that was on the lapel. That's 3/8 of an inch or 9mm between those two, and I've just started doing that row there, and I've got the rest to do. So on this part of the collar, this is called the fall of the collar, then these are wider, these, and they're all at 3/8 of an inch all the way to here until you get to the tip of the this part of the collar, and then again you do the narrow pad stitching here. So these I've put in at 1/8 of an inch, which is 3mm gap. Okay, and the same on this part of the collar too, and then these go up to, but not over, the seam line. Now I've drawn in the seam lines to make sure that I do not go too close. I'm taking the pad stitching only up to 1/8 of an inch, which is 3mm away on the inside of that seam line, so that when I come to eventually trim this hair canvas off the seam, and so that it's not incorporated into the seam, then I will be able to cut it on that line without cutting the pad stitching or anything there. Now I'm going to carry on working on that, and I will show you what that looks like in a moment. But one last thing, on the actual collar band, then these need to be closer together again. Not quite as close together as these, but they do need to be closer, so 1/4 of an inch, because again you want to have really good structure and hold in this section here, and once I've done that, it'll lose this waviness, because it's cut on the bias there. So that's what I'm doing at the moment. Hopefully I'll show you in a moment what that looks like now when it's finished. And here's the finished collar. Now that I've done all the pad stitching, I'll show that a little bit closer up. There you can see on all the lines up into that corner there, and again more stitches into that corner there, and I've done an extra row just at the bottom, just here on the collar band, and I'm just about to press this so that it presses on that fold line, which is this one here, to form a nice shape on this collar. I've also cut the excess seam allowance off the hair canvas, and that should all sit really nicely once it's pressed, and I'll show you how I'm going to press that in a moment. I've folded over the collar on the collar line that you can see there. The seam between the two pieces is just behind there, and I've pinned it onto the ham here. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to steam it. I'm not going to touch it with the iron. I'm just steaming to set that collar into a really good shape. And like before, I'll just turn this round. Like before, I will let it dry before taking it off so that it keeps that shape. Let that cool, and there it is, one collar steamed to form that lovely fold over the top. And then the next step will be to put the top piece of the collar onto this piece. I've just placed the collar that we previously steamed onto the top of the jacket, and doesn't that look fab? It's going to be perfect once it's sewn on. So yes, there we are. Worked very nicely.